You think it's love, don't you? That ache in your chest, the way you can't stop checking your phone, waiting for her text, her call, her little sign that says, "You matter," feels powerful, addicting, deep. But let me say something that might sting. That's not love. That's a psychological trap. See, love feels free. It feels light. It makes your life better, not smaller. But what you're feeling, it's obsession dressed like romance. You're not in love. You're in survival mode. You're chasing her approval, not because you truly choose her, but because a part of you is terrified of being without her. Let's get real, brother. You scroll her stories, you imagine what she's doing, who she's with, and when she pulls away, even just a little, it feels like the world's collapsing. You tell yourself, "I just miss her," but what you're really saying is, "I've lost myself in her." You gave up control. You made her your peace, your joy, your sense of being enough. And now she owns you. Not directly, not out loud, but in the invisible strings she pulls without lifting a finger. Let me ask you a brutal question. Where's your life gone? Your purpose? Your energy? Your inner power? You used to have things to do, goals to crush, dreams that made your chest burn. But now, all of it's paused because she hasn't replied in 2 hours. This isn't about love. This is about attachment. Unhealthy, deep, soul-stealing attachment. And the worst part, the more you chase, the more she pulls back. The more you give, the more she feels nothing. Because women don't fall for men who give up their power. They fall for men who keep it. You don't need to chase. You need to wake up. You don't need her to text you back. You need to reconnect with yourself. What if this pain, this confusion, this chaos inside you isn't proof you're in love? What if it's proof that you've been trapped and it's time to break free? Are you ready to see what that freedom looks like? Or do you still think this is love? Why chasing destroys you and doesn't work. You've been told to chase her. Be romantic. Show her you care. Make her feel special. Sounds sweet, right? It's not. It's a trap. Not because love is wrong, but because the way you're doing it is backwards. Let me tell you what women actually feel. When a man chases her, calls 5 times a day, texts paragraphs when she gives him one word, shows up everywhere she is. She doesn't feel special. She feels suffocated. Worse, she starts to feel superior, because deep down, she knows you're doing too much. She didn't have to earn your attention. You handed it over like candy. And the moment she doesn't have to work for your energy, she stops valuing it. Let's flip the script. Think about your favorite pair of shoes. Why do you love them? Because they're comfy? Sure, but also because you earned them, you picked them, paid for them, wore them in, took care of them. Now imagine someone just throws you 10 free pairs. Every day, would you still care? Exactly. When you chase women non-stop, you remove all the effort from their side. And what costs nothing feels like nothing. You become too easy, too predictable, and you kill the mystery. You think your effort shows love. She sees it as pressure. You think being available shows loyalty. She sees it as desperation. You think giving everything will make her stay. She starts wondering what's wrong with you. The irony? The more you chase, the faster she runs. You're not winning her over, you're scaring her off. Why? Because you're not grounded in yourself, you're not calm, you're not in control. You're acting like she's your oxygen, and that's not attractive. The moment you stop chasing, something strange happens. She pauses, she notices, she wonders, wait, what's changed? That's the power of pulling energy inward, not as a trick, but as a return to your center. You're not a dog begging for scraps. You're a man. Start acting like one. Still think chasing will make her love you? Or are you ready to learn what really builds attraction? The illusion of the one, and how it traps you. Let's talk about something real. That feeling you get when you think she's the one. You meet her. It's magical. You laugh. She laughs. Time flies. Your heart races. And then your mind whispers, this is it, she's different. That whisper becomes a scream. You start building castles in your head. You imagine a future, kids, holidays, everything. But here's the trap. Or fall in love with the idea, not the woman. You're not in love, you're hypnotized. You took a few moments of connection and turned it into a lifetime in your head. You skipped reality and went straight into fantasy, and now you're stuck because you're not seeing her for who she is. You're seeing her for who you want her to be. Every red flag ignored, every gut feeling silenced. Every time she pulls away, you chase harder. Why? Because the idea of losing her feels like losing everything, even though you never really had her. You were in love with potential, with a dream, with a version of her that only existed in your mind. And this is where most men suffer. They confuse chemistry with connection, obsession with love, attachment with truth, and worst of all, they make her their purpose. That's when things fall apart, because no woman, no matter how beautiful or smart or charming, can be the reason you wake up in the morning. She can be part of the journey, but she can't be the destination. You must be rooted in you, your goals, your mission, your inner calm. If not, she becomes your oxygen, and when she pulls away, you suffocate. That's not love, that's dependency. Want to break the trap? Stop chasing the fantasy. Start facing the truth. You don't miss her. You miss who you were around her. Let me hit you with something that might sting a little. You don't actually miss her. You miss how you felt when she liked you. You miss that high, that validation, that little voice inside saying, "You're wanted, you're enough." It wasn't about her laugh or her favorite show, or even how she looked at you. It was about how you looked at yourself through her attention. It felt like magic. But here's what most men never realize. That feeling? It wasn't coming from her. It was coming from you. She just triggered it. You were confident, playful, sure of yourself. You didn't overthink. You didn't doubt. You weren't trying to impress her at first. You were just you, and that version of you, that's who she was drawn to. But once you made her your center, that man faded. You became anxious. You started second-guessing. You began performing instead of being present. Why? Because you tied your self-worth to her response. When she was warm, you felt alive. When she pulled away, you felt invisible. That's not a relationship. That's emotional slavery. But here's the good news. That version of you, the one she first liked, he's still in there. And he doesn't need her to exist. He just needs space, focus, purpose. You got to stop thinking she made you feel alive. You made yourself feel alive when you were free. Free from attachment, free from fear, free from proving. She was just the mirror. You want that feeling back. Detach from her. Reconnect with you. You're not chasing a girl. You're chasing a version of yourself you abandoned. Find that man again, because he was never in love. He was just awake. Her confusion isn't your problem, it's your freedom. Ever notice how the moment you stop texting, stop explaining, stop chasing, she gets confused? Suddenly she's asking, "Are you okay? Why are you acting different? Do you even care?" Let's clear something up. Her confusion is not your problem, it's a sign that she was used to being the center, used to the spotlight, used to your focus. She's not confused because you hurt her. She's confused because she doesn't have control anymore, and most men panic at this moment. They rush back in, clarify things, try to fix her emotions, but when you do that, you hand over your power again. Listen, women test not because they're evil, but because they want to feel your center. They want to know you're grounded, not swayed by storms, not ruled by her moods. So when she throws confusion at you and you don't flinch, that's when she starts to feel something deeper. Respect. Because here's the truth most guys miss. Your peace is not up for negotiation. If she's unsure, cool, let her feel that. You don't need to perform. You don't need to chase clarity. You are not a puppet for her emotional weather. When a man stands still while the storm rages, he becomes unforgettable. And ironically, her confusion, that becomes attraction. She starts wondering, why isn't he reacting? Did I lose him? Was I wrong about him? And that wonder, it's powerful, because now she is leaning in, she is investing, not because you manipulated anything, but because you refuse to be controlled. This isn't about playing games, it's about keeping your soul in your hands. Let her be confused, while you stay clear, because men who know their worth, they don't explain it, they live it. The myth of emotional closeness, why space builds real connection. They told you to be emotionally close, to share everything, to open up fully, to always be available. They said that's how you build love, but what if they were wrong? What if the constant closeness they told you to chase was actually pushing her away? Here's something they never say out loud. Too much emotional closeness kills attraction, not because vulnerability is bad, but because over-accessibility creates emotional noise. When you're always there, always sharing, always expressing every thought, every fear, every feeling, there's no space for mystery, no room for curiosity, no energy for attraction to breathe. She doesn't feel drawn to you anymore, because she already has all of you. You became predictable, too easy to read, too safe. But here's the Stoic truth most men overlook. Real connection needs space, like a fire needs air. Too much wood, too fast, and it smothers. It's not about being cold, it's not about hiding, it's about being rooted in yourself so deeply that you don't need to overshare to feel seen. You choose what to share, you choose when. That's power, that's control. It also makes the connection deeper, because now your words have weight, your silence has meaning, your presence is felt. You create emotional tension, a gap between what she sees and what she wants to understand. And in that gap, attraction is born. The guys who give it all up front, they get friend-zoned, because they remove the chase. But the man who knows when to be still, when to withhold, not to manipulate, but to stay centered, he becomes rare. She doesn't just hear him, she feels him. So next time you think, should I say this just to be close? Ask instead, is this true to me, or just fear of losing her? Because sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is say nothing. Let her miss you, let her reach, let the space speak. The freedom you forgot you had. You ever stop and ask yourself, why do I feel trapped in this relationship? Not because she's toxic, not because it's abusive, but because you gave away your freedom without noticing. You stopped doing your hobbies, you stopped seeing your boys, you stopped chasing your goals, and it wasn't because she asked you to. It's because you convinced yourself this was love. You thought love meant giving everything, being there all the time, answering every text, canceling plans just in case she needs you. You thought being needed meant being valued, but it doesn't. It means you forgot how to be your own man. Here's the truth. When a man loses his freedom, he loses his edge, his mystery, his strength, and when he loses that, she stops craving him, because now he's no longer a man she looks up to, he's a man orbiting her. That's not love, that's a psychological trap. It's easy to fall into, because society keeps repeating this message. Real men sacrifice everything for love. Good men always choose her first. If you love her, you'll never make her wait. Lies, all of it. A high-value man protects his freedom. He doesn't trade his purpose for affection. He doesn't shrink to keep the peace. He doesn't walk on eggshells to avoid distance. He keeps his fire alive. Because that fire, that passion, that purpose is what drew her to him in the first place. She didn't fall for a man who begged. She didn't fall for a man who lost himself. She fell for a man who had something bigger than her, something that lit him up from the inside. That's the man who stays magnetic. So maybe it's time to stop asking, how do I make her stay? And start asking, what life am I building with or without her? Because when you return to your freedom, she sees it. She feels it. She wants to be part of that world again. Not because you chased her, but because you remembered who you are. Let me ask you something. Why are you always explaining yourself? Why do you feel the need to defend every move, every delay in your text, Every decision you make for yourself, think about that. You say it's just being respectful, but deep down, you're scared of upsetting her, scared of losing her, scared of being seen as cold. So you talk too much, you reveal too much, you explain everything. But here's what no one told you. Mystery is not a flaw, it's power. Silence is not distance, it's strength. A man who doesn't overtalk, who doesn't rush to prove himself, who doesn't need to be understood at every step, that man becomes unforgettable. Not because he's playing games, not because he's being cold, but because his energy speaks before his mouth does. She feels it. The calm, the certainty, the quiet fire under the surface. That's what pulls her in. Not the begging, not the long paragraphs, not the please understand me speeches. Listen, you don't owe your full emotional autobiography to someone you just met. You don't have to turn every small conflict into a therapy session. You don't need to always explain why you're busy. Sometimes you just let your actions speak. And when she texts, "You okay?" you don't need to write a novel. You just say, "All good, focused right now." And you get back to work. That's not rude. That's power. That's self-control. A woman doesn't fall for a man who's always available to explain himself. She falls for the one who makes her curious, the one who's steady in silence, the one who doesn't chase her approval because he already has his own. So ask yourself, are you silent because you're afraid, or because you're strong enough to let your presence speak louder? Stop proving, start choosing. Ever been on a date and you're sitting there hoping she likes you? You dress sharp, you say all the right things, you pay, smile, compliment, try to impress, and the whole time your mind's whispering, "Please pick me." That's not confidence, that's performance. It's like being on a stage, auditioning for a role in her life. But let me tell you something that most men never realize. She's not the prize, you're not either. The connection is, but you don't even get there if you're always the one proving your worth. The world teaches you, be nice, be impressive, be what she wants, but the Stoic teaches, be real, be solid, be what you respect. See, when you're always trying to be chosen, you forget that you also have a choice. You forget to ask yourself, do I even like her values? Does she treat people with kindness? Is she someone I'd want around my future kids? Or are you just hypnotized by beauty? Real men don't chase approval, they assess. They watch how she moves, they see if her actions match her words. They're not afraid to walk away if it doesn't feel aligned. And get this, the moment you stop chasing her validation, you stop being predictable. And when you stop being predictable, you start being magnetic. Because women feel it. They sense when a man values himself more than her attention, and that's rare. And what's rare is valuable. So next time you're around her, don't try to win her over. See if she wins you over, and if she doesn't, walk. That's not ego, that's standard. And standards, they build attraction without saying a word. So here's the real question. Are you trying to prove you're good enough for her, or are you bold enough to see if she's good enough for you? Escape the trap by returning to purpose. Let's stop here for a second and zoom out. Why are you really feeling stuck on her? Why does her silence hurt more than it should? Why does her attention feel like oxygen and her distance feel like drowning? The truth is, you got lost in her because you drifted away from you. You stopped moving toward your mission. You made her your focus when your focus should have been your path. And now, her every move controls your emotions. Her replies control your peace. Her attention controls your worth. That's not love. That's a man who's forgotten who he is. Let me remind you, before she showed up, you had dreams, you had goals, you had fire, but the moment you placed her at the center, you made her the sun, and now your whole world orbits around her. That's the trap. Oh, don't break free by texting her less. You don't heal by waiting it out. You break the trap by rebuilding your purpose. When your days are filled with progress, you don't have time to beg for attention. When your life is heavy with meaning, you don't chase shallow highs from short texts. Women respect purpose-driven men, not men who lose themselves in emotional loops. And you know what's wild? The moment you return to your purpose, you instantly become more attractive, not just to her, but to everyone. Because energy shifts, confidence returns, and suddenly, you're not hoping she chooses you anymore. You've chosen yourself. So here's the final truth. You don't get her back by chasing. You don't win her love by begging. You get everything you want by remembering who you are and living like he matters more than any girl ever could. This is how you break free. This is how you win.